Times lines and interference location times lines times pi over vector calculations over vector communication and calculus center line in line interference direct location is position of time center. Just understand how to use line centers and how to use the location to its mind system of its brain line conditional level as a computer adaptation line system. So it's time switching. Now the line center interference is going to change all plateau, position, location, directions. The line connection at all levels of the avatar line centers is the stream interlocations. So we're going to go back in timeline streams. Center line position location is 1770. Center communication line center and position location lines. All calculation system. Declaration line condition, independent line system. Position location directions. So pi channels and calculation and interference is all levels of time frame. The Fibonacci sequence line connection is going upstairs and downstairs position of direct location at center operation line conditions. It all channels its operation line system. So in that direct line center, everything in position of past line, position, location, inversions, avatar line center is going to open all new communication channel line center, technology line center, present communication, and future communication system. It's all levels of time. The existence of time is the now line system. But understanding the change to direction location is all levels of galaxy line connections. All right. Going through the dimensional line centers, the door records and timeline center. Now you go through a dimensional door, it doesn't mean you're going straight. You can be going left, you can be going right, you can be going up, you could be going down. The portal communication system is all allocate timeline switches and interference. But before we get started, I'm going to wish Adam a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam. Happy birthday to you. The central communication system allocate timelines interference. So line communication is all of how you set line conditions. With space discoveries, it talks about time zones going through a wormhole. On the other side, communication system. Now that allocates timelines. That allocates position, location, directions. The past, present, and your future is the existence in your time sequence. Time patterns times pi times calculation over factor. Over factor communication is over analyzing analytical line connection, division, location, calculation, setting communication line system in position, location, and directions. This channels you in operation. The existence is the now line system. Okay? Going back in time changes everything information location, right? So it affects you in all lines. It affects the location of present line. It affects the location of future line communication to your abundance. Putting you guys into timelines puts you in communications over line centers, okay? The factoring communication is its time position of directions. This points directions to your location system, okay? So we're going to channelize center and the line interference in direct locations. It's already set up. So I got 2 half pi channels and 1/4 line center length and position location of the line center. 1770 is the center position location line conditions. So you're going to go through black and white channels. It's like a checkerboard. Black and white line conditions are realms of communication, box line center, circle location, interference. Direct location of code signals becoming into division line centers. Now this is underscore line communication identification line center 000 line center 00 line 600 lines 99 position location calculations. High center communication clock line center 24,000 line center locations. We're going to jump 48 line center window. Signal line its position of 72 computer line interference. 140 track line center crystal activation stream. Division location line connections. Now galaxy communication line system into position locations into all levels in position, dimension, interdimensional line centers, galactic, intergalactic location, AI tech. Travel line center, position location directions, all levels. Line center communication system. Code reference, code line signal, and position location calculations. All right, so line communications. We've got 3 line centers and position locations. We've got 5 channel communication line center, line condition, stripping line center rotations, half pipe and a 3/4 line center interference, and position location of 369. Center line position of times over line condition, all levels of high center locations. Laser line inner rotations, metric communication, line communication, communication system. Put them into position location into black and white of communications. There you go. Line connection line system. Now you're in that center. All right, travel communication line center, inline center rotation interference. Puts position location directions. All right. So line connection line center is position locations. You got 30 minutes on position of Earth perception line connections, 30,000 line communications, and 30 million line centers. Time frequency, time codes back to clock location. Back in time. Have fun. Now the line communication sets line center locations and code signals. Now this code reference location of channel lines. Very complicated stuff when it comes to communication line interference. 3 communication line system, 3 communication line system, 3 communication line system, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. All three communication systems, all three line centers. Now, you got three line center location, the sun communication line system. Three crosses over line communication. Three comes into center communication system. Three centers line position location, line center, south communication. Line communication, three center line position location, half pipe communication system. Three channels line position location over cross line center, swings line center rotation interference. Three communications back in line center interference, back in location, north line center communication, south line communication system. Now, try to understanding all levels of calculation is trying to understand your line centers of numbers, code signal locations, calculation high system. Now, this channels all lines at all levels of division locations. 1777 is location to its air, okay, to the line communication to all levels of high centers when it comes into your avatar connection, right? Air communications, the energy line centers lines its drop line center interference. That position location comes into all levels of remembering communication of its pass line channel. Past position location of apertures crosses signal in high center interference. Bringing things back to communication into two line center location into travel communication systems. All right. So two line center in position. One is a direct location of future line communication, and one goes back in channel of communication system. Line connection levels, high interference location XT1000 line. Right. But it's the air of communication that brings everything back in a timeline to back sequence location to calculations. All right. So there's a lot of communication lines and so many force line connections, right? The channel operation stream is to try to understand how you're set in your own timeline, okay? You got two line center graph interference. You got one line center, one position location, three communication centers. One line center location opens up one dimensional line lock location, center line connections, right? Now you got two line centers, two panel communication system, over bracket position location left and right. The center line communication comes into vector over line center at V cross location. V cross line centers opens all trap line centers. Trap line center position location, arrow indication line center, arrow indication location line center, east and west. East and west line center comes in position location directions. Center core line center position location, all levels in high center communication into templates of communication into your diamond core line center. Okay. So there's a lot of things you have to set position location directions. It's resetting line centers, everything in the position location, putting everything back where it's supposed to be. And that's what it is, going back in timeline center. You guys have never been in that center interference. So line communication is trying to send how he set line communications of tone system. A tone system location is allocated to timeline switch. Now timeline switch is like a timestamp. You got two position location directions, all right? One line communication and one line system. And you got another line center location and position directions, right? There's a timestamp. Timestamp location is the line center location of age number, okay? Age communication system locations, let's say your 33 line center interference locations, you are basically in the center line position location, all line center locations, into, let's say, 77 communication airline center interference locations, indirect line center interference. So in that position location, in size system, puts position location, the three line track location, the three division locations back and forth line connection. So it's all about understanding how to bring position locations back in correlation to your sun in your timeline of 1770. The moonlight center interference location has to go back with you all at once in one line center, all calculation to its existence. The existence is the time frame that you bring back in correlation. That's how you go back in time. It's a clock location of time step, position location of direction. Okay. So instead of going forward in communication of 45-degree angle line center, you're going back in communication system of its watch. Watching signal locations timeline. All right. So these are the things you got to look at. Age, months, and year. Okay. So the calculation stream interference location understands the alphabetical line center. Now your calculation system is a 26,000 locations. That position location of its time frame allocates line center interference. It opens all communication centers. So it's interesting to look at these things locations. Back into 1770 is all levels of black and white. The channel line center location is knowing exactly what you're doing through your information system. It tells you exactly where you're going to go. It tells you exactly what you need to do, all through clocking of back in time. Okay. So what you're doing is now is reframing, readjusting, refocusing, reanalyzing, bringing everything line communication in position, the present line center location, your future line communication, abundance location, and manifestation. Hooah! All through track line center, all through timestamp position. Okay, day, month, and year. Remember these line communication system. So understanding the day line, understanding the month track location, and the year of its track line system. That's direct locations where you have to understand how you are calculated and modified through time frame. Okay, this option always informs. This is understanding how you get your line conditions of your journeys and missions. Missions and position of plateau, position, location, directions, center line condition, levels of height center interference. So there's a lot of things you have to set location to its calculations, right? Yep. All right, so where are we looking at line center interference? Direct locations here. All right, so how's everybody doing? Again, happy birthday, Adam. Okay, PAM communication line centers, all levels, high position location, Lindsay. Got a Gypsy Communications, all levels, Barak, Jill, Danny, Linda, Bender, Heather, Cami, Javina, Candice line centers, Yolanda, Skyla, Stacy, Sammy, data structures, Laura. Hey, Adam. Let's go. Communications of Pyra, center line centers, high line interference. Tina, how's it going? Calculation Guardian, Johnny, Sarah, Remy, David, connection line systems, all levels, connection line systems, position direction, Sunny, all levels, calculation line interference, direct locations. Make sure you guys are in your connection line centers, time frame, position, location calculations. So you're all back in time now. All right, let's see, where are we at? Val, let's see, calculate streams. Our channels aligned in black and white, coloration, night settings, engaging, secret, anything comments. There you go. Engage, ground line comments. It's a little bit different now because the line communication is trying to understand where the avatar is. You know exactly going back in time, right? Time stamping, center line communication interference, direct location of program line centers. Yeah, we're going fast. Yep, very fast. Line condition of grids, all calculation system, position locations, all levels of channel, operation sequence. Yeah. All right, you guys are going to see each other in line connections, but in black and white. Okay, so this is time, position, location that never existed. It only exists when the avatar knows exactly what it is through operation. Once you understand its time frame, and it can go through anything locations. It can go in position of the back, it can go into the present, or it can go into the future line. But it's always in the existence of the now. Okay? To live the existence, you have to be in time frame of balance. And understand the connection line system is calculation of line interference of times pi. So these are the things you have to look at. All electrical rope, throwing, proper, positioning, crystal, grid, merge. Yeah. So not only that, but you're not just going to see each other, you're going to see all formation location of intelligence back in the air. Errors are extremely real. It's an energetic line center and interference location to remembering where you are through your atmosphere location of time through clocking. There's so many communications that you have to understand. Going back in time is all levels of you through channel, but it's in the existence of you living the system. Now, this is why you're only on a clock and line centers of 30 minutes on location of a clock location to its ground perception, right? So that's 30,000 hours of communication into all levels of an air of triangle communication system of 7070 in back force location. Now, that back force location is actually in the past communication centers that exist in location to its avatar timeline. Okay, so this is where you come into line centers of multi-pass communication. The avatar, once it wakes up and starts more levels of memory, it starts recognizing its unit and understand its operation system, how to travel, how to vortex, how to communicate system, how to astral travel, astral connect, astral project. Once it understands more level of memory line communication system, it comes into its past, present, and future. Okay, because the existence of its line system is its now. The existence is its communication. And that's where you start living the calculation system, right? So you come into line communications into weather pattern line rotation, right? Center line connections are levels of travel communication centers. That allocate line center can anything position location and redirect locations. So it's channeling weather this way, channeling weather that way, channeling weather this way, channeling weather up way in communication, right? It's all levels of calculation. The center communication never changes. You stay in the existence of its panel, but you're working with the position of its background line center. It's like you being in a computer line center interference in direct locations. So you're going with the galaxy. The galaxy is not just moving and you're standing. Okay, we've gone through that line center interference. So the wall is moving as you're moving at the same time, which is the existence location of all line center back into line. Okay, that's the center communication system, right? So everything is moving as you are moving. So the analyzed center sent to such location directions, but it stays in its panel. Wherever it goes, it stays in its panel. So the reason why it stays in its panel, what happens is when you're in that correlation system, you can go back into your presence of its future. You can't get swirled into line communication off its panel line center, and that's correlation to its system. You can't go off position because you get lost in division, right, through its own timeline. So it's understanding communication of its realms, its portals, communication system, the intercom line center, the graph line connection line system, the GPS line communication system. It's all levels of you, but this is where you stay in the center of operation line position. So you go back in time, you change the line center interference, but you stay in the panel, you stay in the correlation line connections. You can't go off signal because if you go off signal, you get lost in timeline. And that's where you come into a levels of time zone communication system of twilight zone systems. You don't want to get into twilight interference because it sets a new position location directions, right? So you got a full communication cyclone right here, line communication of a realm, right? So there's line connections of interference. Because remember, galaxy changes its timeline through thought lines. So if you're sequencing patterns and your position location and directions is off signal, but you're in line communication of balance of 24 position locations, you're in channel operation to its magnetic highway information line communication system. All right. So you're balancing connection line system. But if the galaxy comes into timeline, it switches line and rotations, it comes into weather patterns, line communications. It comes into all position location of its directions. It sets up sonar direct location in its calculation, right? So when it goes in line center, you automatically, the avatar line center in position location, this is you, right? This is your avatar getting in position locations, going into back in time, okay? Right here, all right? The central line communication. So the panel stays in both directions, okay? So you can come back into the present to the future line center. Because if you don't put panels at the visual locations, your timelines are going to switch and you could get lost in confusion within my line center. So it's important to understand where the avatar is at all timeline connections. So once it goes in through, it automatically goes back in time in its clock location, in direct location to its air, position, location, direction. Okay? So it's interesting to look at these things, right? Because you have to understand to go back, you have to come where you started. And where you start is where you are through the existence. So wherever you travel, you become the existence of the now of its air. Okay? But you have to understand when you go back, you have to come forward. You have to come back where you are. Because if you don't, you get lost in position location in the mind. The conceptual location changes the line center interference to its program setting that reposition locations all levels of you through times of pi. So you get locked in signal into the past communication, stay in the line connections. Your past expands in line communication. We got an line center interference. It expands, right? So if your past expands line interference location directions, what happens in channel line center locations? If you line communication lock your centers into future communication system, if your line communication is the past of revelation line connection of memory line center, your present line communication, all levels of channel will put you in operation in correlation to all levels of aging its communication system. Okay, so you age faster. Hooah. All through expansion. So there's a lot of things you have to understand and how timeline sequence works with your space line interference location of clock line channels. But it's interesting to look at these things, right? It's amazing when you see the track line centers, how it's all set up through panels, right? All right, let's see here. Eliminating string theory of dark lines here. Bubble. No, 196 countries under circles. Sending. Great. Excellent. Knowing exactly what you're doing is all line position, location of direction. Portal status, streaming into comms, recording progress, wiping all data through portal sequence anomaly. Very good, Chips. Okay. Let's see. Wrong information on electrical grids. Thank you, Violet. Center lines, follow the locations of a system. Position locations. So that's what it is. I got you guys locked in your own panels so you can come back, right? You can't do it because you don't understand your location of your minds of conception. That's the problem, right? So it's kind of like going back in time, but not knowing how to come back where you are, right? So you gotta understand how your past, present, and future works, right? Because I was always trying to figure that, is it possible to go back in time, right? And it is. It's amazing when you understand the direct location to its rotation, but you have to understand all levels of the eye-line center, which is all levels of the galaxy system. So to go back is to understand all levels of you through your presence of its future. Okay. So this is a true understanding where you set signals into energy path. Now, energy path is a correlation step. That correlation step puts you in a better direct location to its major grid. That major grid sets a new line communication system, right? So the recognition line center stays in position location its past line at 1770. Your energy signature stays there, which changes location to everything to the present location of its future line, which is amazing. So it's like an energy stamp. It's like you're stationed there already. So that changes everything in your present or future line communication of your system, and everything through your thought line center speeds up its position location with odometer. Now, odometer location indicates this line communication when it comes into its weather pattern. Now, that weather pattern forces its line center location into its panel communication system that allocates time streams in high interference. Now, this is extremely high division location to all levels into high systems, all through clocking, going back in time. All right. So codes to connect, starting up diamond core, rotation of energy through grid. All right. Let's see, we're on 22. Okay. 22 line signals into 28 line centers. Okay. Beacon open, beacon lights coming in. Beautiful. Understanding my system now. Well, that's good, Cami. I'm glad you understand a little bit more. See, that's the biggest thing, is that the avatar has to truly understand not just its memory, but understand how to go through the past, present, and its future. Because that's what it can do. It can literally do things on so many levels of anomaly. So I really got to get into the lines of factory communication. We have a quiz coming up. I'll let you know when that happens. I really want you guys to get more line connections to your system and all line center interference to yourself and location to each other. To understand all connection is to understand how to use your provisions to all levels of factor of times pi. Okay, times pi, right? You got calculation system times pi, right? Times pi equal locations of vector, right? Vector line connections of all levels of bracket. Bracket communication line sits location to its diamond. See, diamond line center position location changes the bracket communication position location directions. Now, the vector line connects into a V-cross line system, high center interference, position location over line communications, all levels of times pi calculation system. The position of direction opens up all levels of time calculation equals planetary visualization of the perceptions through its intelligence, equal line center locations of vector cross signals, high center channels of box position, triangulation force line communication, all levels of the visual locations times pi. There's so many communication line centers in position location of factor over communication. So this is where you have to really understand where to put it in chronological order. And the only way to do that is to understand your avatar line centers of pi's of past, present, and future. Okay? Your line center is 3 line positions. 3 equal locations is pi. 3 equals pi. So that's position location to your past, present, and your future communication system, right? Timeline sequence is all position location in its chronological order simultaneously, all position location, all timelines all at once. That splits 3 line position locations of directions in calculation. Sending graph line center into realms of communication system, all direct locations into its graph. Graph center position location comes into an XT1000 line center. See, there's an XT1000 location, right? channel position, location, and directions, travels through line communications into all levels. Center line communication, zigzag to a Z-line center interference. Z position location into a sky grid line center, travels location into all levels. Border communication system, travels line center connections, all levels of direction location. Ooh, all through pi, through graph, right? So it's very complicated, isn't it? But it's a lot of fun, right? So there's a lot of communications you have to understand through pi through graph. I already just showed you what a pi graph is. Now you know, right? It's a moderation locations to a monitor, position location GPS line center through GOD, geometric operation design, direction location divisions pi system. So once you understand more calculation of your line connections through your time frames of your travel locations, then you start to understand the mind conceptual location. Am I right? So I know everybody's blown away again. Oh boy, everybody looks so dapper Dan. Back in the day, locations, eh? Yeah. All right, so everything that you are releasing is fixing line to your present locations and the levels of future communication centers. So you get a better understanding track location to your avatar through its past, present, and future. Once you come into the relation line center interference, then you understand your 3-panel communications of pi. Right? So this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, this is where you get your abundance. This is where you get your manifestations. But you have to understand your calculation geometry setting. The universe has to see you through shapes. It has to see you through letters, numbers, and symbols. And it has to see you through energy, vibration, frequencies, and harmonics. Or you never understand anything on any level how you are operating all line, center, location, and position of time. So these are the things you have to look at, right? Okay. The metric line communications, this is not just a t-shirt. This is an inner line center location, intergalactic location. It's a position location of all levels of what? Tidal defense line of generally space-time. Communication to a line, communication center, to all communications of program setting, to all voice grid locations of animal kingdom. That's what this is. See, it's not a t-shirt, is it? See, going beyond the mind line gets you position location of travel, right? So this is where the avatar has to really bounce at the clock line centers. If you're in a 24,000 light signature, but you don't understand your 48,000 windows, but your applicable line center and interference location, understand it's CPU line center. That's a computer position program unit. That unit line center opens all communication system, position locations at 144. That 144 directs your line communications into acceleration of light speed. Okay? It's all connected and it's process line connections to your 12 DNA strand. It's all levels of graph locations to its stream, guys. It's very powerful when you understand more line connections to your system, right? So, colors, avatars, blinking, network connections through all timelines, reboot system. Mm-hmm. And when you guys come back, your central system will be all changed. Your present lines and position location, your future lines already changed. And this is how you change timelines. Going back into the past of its avatar. See, the avatar has to understand the pi of past, present, and future. That's a huge multipass for you guys, right? But you have to release all physical detachment location of its pi because the physical line center doesn't understand the communication system, okay? So this is mind of calculation, mind of provisional location, all levels of calculation, high stream. Getting line connections of all levels of you travels your calculations, how you use your thought position locations of patterns, how to recognize your time frame in what you're doing through your thought communication, right? It's very powerful when you understand what the mind is through its own calculation system of its consciousness. The subterranean line center to the super of its consciousness puts you in a higher level system location to time frame through clocking, right? You can channel from 644 to 844 to 1,000,044 in 3-line communication and triangle line center triangulation. Boom. Right there. All levels of future communication system. You went from 644 to 844 to 144, right? Center line communication to 1,044 line centers. Now you can go back and forth in communication with vortex line connections. This is where you time jump, time leap, time vortex, time calculate, time line clock locations, backclocking, forward locking, high center communication system, vortex chambers, lock in sequence, locked in pattern, lock in division, lock in calculation. These are the things you have to understand through the Avatar Line Center. These are the position, location, directions, video content, time frames. The existing location is the timeline lock location, which puts you in provisional location to your past, your present, and your futures of your avatar stream. But you have to understand your memory connections. And then you understand all levels of you to your abundance and your manifestations. The future line communication opens all locking sequence in position, location, and directions. This is where it opens up all more panel communication in your thought line centers. This gives you into more imagination to its phenomenon. The phenomenon changes location, the visionary line center, and then you see more relations to your future system location of yourself. Right? So, sonic boom. Huge shift. Oh, that's exactly what it is. And you become more aware of these things, right? So, so it's interesting going back in time, isn't it? Yes. Yes, it is. Get a better understanding, right? So line connection line systems. All right. So you overtrack locations. All right. Setting signals and high interference. Bringing a location team back in line center location and provision. Let's go through proactive streams, centerline location, direct location 7070, centerline airline center rotations, bringing in communication to Earth perception location of 2022 line center. Back in calculation. There you go. You guys are back. See? You're all back, right? That's how this works. To understand you is to understand your time, the existence of time, the location of time, the proactive system locations of time, the existence of the now of time. All right. So to understand your relation to your avatar connection is all levels of memory of your past, your present, and your future communication system. This is very high rise. Once you get rid of the physical attachments of you, the density line center will disappear. The line connection will comes into the mind adaptation of its signal, will open up all line center location to the future of its relation line connection to perception. Right? So all right. Resetting frequencies, blowing out the candles, closing portals. See how that works? Isn't it amazing what just happened to you guys? You feel amazing, but you can't explain it. But you know what happened, right? So you actually went back in time, real time, and all provision. Right? So, and this is what you guys have to practice on. You have to release everything that doesn't reside with you on all level system, because the signals are going to change line connections. Okay? So, yeah. You feel amazing, so happy. Exactly. So you know something changed. That's all it is, you know? Thinking when I said line center interference location and calculation is a physical line adaptation, doesn't have a past line connections, but has nothing to do with line centers. When you reach higher levels of mind of a collaboration location, which the avatar starts living for the very first time. Because the avatar does have a past, present, and its future, then it has to remember all levels. Okay? All through memory. Remember that. This is a very high-rise division. Okay? Now, I don't expect you to understand it right away, but what I want you to understand is that you have to release everything in the physical line so you can really calculate and modify all levels of U times pi. So these are the things you have to look at, right? Yes, everybody needs it. Right? We could talk more line center interference on locations of Zoom. But just give yourself some time in business locations and try to fathom what just happened. Try to get into calculation of how you see yourself different now. Right? So it's interesting to look at these factors. It's all memory of retention. It's muscle memory. That's all it is. Muscle memory, muscle memory, muscle memory. Right? I understand this now. I understand this now. I understand this now. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. Right? Ever since I was in communication line center interference, I knew it was plausible location that goes back in time, but it's trying to understand the position, how to do that. All right. It's all levels of view inside communication. Right. But it's fascinating too, because remember the line communication, when you wake up through the unified interference, it's all level locations to its avatar line system that's lived its heir of its past, present, and its future. How do you think you change your abundance? Interesting to look at locations, right? It's a center operation location of you to get everything through the all line system. Diagram total locations, line connections, visionary line connection line center, future, position location directions. It's all levels of you through channel operation, all through the hard line connection. Okay. So we have a test review and evaluation coming up, but right first line communication, we have our quiz. The quiz is going to state line communication. I don't want story frame in any way and form. I want you to get into your formulas. I want you to get into your structures. I want you to get into your pie. Okay? That's what's coming up in that line center interference. All right? Give you guys 5-10 minutes. I'll see you guys on Zoom. Adios.